Good afternoon, it's Sunday, and we're down close to freezing, 32, 33, 34, and I'm sliding into my ski pants and wearing a warmer cap and anticipating it'll get colder and soon. But it's beautiful out, the sun is out, it's bright. I haven't read the papers today. I have listened some to the talking heads. One odd case that bothers me is the fact that our State Department has given immunity to Khashoggi's killer when there's precedent not to do that, not to give immunity, and when they weren't asked by the court but did it on their own. Now, what does that tell you? It makes you wonder what a democratic regime is. That is to say that we worship the First Amendment, invoke it whenever it's handy, seek to censor those that agree with us, like in the 230 Act, and then when it's somebody who is, perhaps a supplier of oil or a powerful ally, then we give them immunity from killing and dismembering a member of the press who exercised that First Amendment right. Foul, wrong. Now, but the big issue continues to be the appointment of a special counsel. And the Washington Post today did something interesting and kind of, if this happened more often and more obviously, I'd say it was an example of the Ministry of Truth in 1984. So how does it work? Well, I'll give you a similar example. A lot of people like to say climate change. But what we're really talking about is global warming. But we talk about climate change as if it could go up or down, and we mystify people as to what it is, and then it allows people to say, I don't know, the ice cap's melting, what does that mean? Okay, too long on that subject. So what am I talking about? Well, in the editorial page, the Washington Post today referred to the Mar-a-Lago Special Counsel. Okay, now let's run this back. The Special Counsel has powers beyond Mar-a-Lago. So the Post purposefully narrowed it to Mar-a-Lago. Not the overthrow of the government, not the insurrection, not any of those things that we know and care much more about, because I frankly see him taking classified papers and looking at them as just another example of his criminality, when the primary offense is what he did to try to distort our constitutional processes of having one administration replace another, in this case Biden rightfully having won the election, replacing Trump. Trump saw it a different way, that by lies and schemes, he decided, we'll just say we won, and do everything he can to distort that. So the Mar-a-Lago Special Counsel not only narrows it, it also ignores the fact that it's about Trump. Why isn't it called the Trump investigation? Because it's about Trump and all his hangers-on and minions and corrupt people who combined with him to do what they did. Now, in this town, Washington, D.C., and I'm talking to you in Virginia on a tree-lined walkway, the people defer and bow down to those who really have more tenure than they have quality. Bill Barr is one example. I myself was taken in by Mueller because I'd known him when I worked on the Hill, and he was the California U.S. Attorney, and he helped us with several things that were of a civil nature. So now, where are we? Well, we know Mueller knew from the beginning he wasn't going to indict the president, and we know who Barr is, although he spends a lot of time trying to be on the right side of the issue so that he can clear his name of all the crimes he committed while he was with Trump and all the things he knew that he spoke not of. And so now we have Jack Smith. And he's being touted something like what happened with Mueller. Now, one of the differences is who tries cases and who oversees cases. Now, Garland, when he came in, what did they talk about? They talked about the Oklahoma bombing, right? And that, it made it sound like he had that whole case, but he didn't try it. It was tried by other lawyers. So he's more a conductor than a trial lawyer, at least in that context, for which they were bragging the rights for him to succeed at these desperate and trying times. Okay, so how good is Jack Smith? Now, I'm always suspicious of any prosecutor who's never lost a case, because it may mean they didn't try any very difficult cases. I had an expression in the corruption unit, and I was in there with other people, obviously, and it was big cases, big problems. Small cases, small problems. No cases, no problems. So what kind of guy is Jack Smith? Well, the one case that most of us know involves the senator from the Carolinas who had an aide he was intimate with, who had a child, and was then prosecuted in 6 counts. And who was overseeing that case? Jack Smith. And what happened in that case? My good friend Abby Lowell, whom we haven't spoken in a while because I wasn't sure if that made sense given where he was representing and what I was saying. But all of that aside, he's a tremendous trial lawyer. And he defended the senator in that case. He got an acquittal on one case, and the jury hung on the other 5. And Jack, he decided not to retry the case. He didn't want to take on Abby Lowell and his defendant again. Okay, so nobody's perfect. Everybody loses cases. What I used to say is that, people tell me they rode horses and they never fell off or bucked off a horse. And although I don't bounce as high as I once did, I've been thrown off a horse a couple of times. And I hurt my rotator cuff on one horse that really I was hanging on by its neck, and it finally got rid of me. So people lose cases. People have errors of judgment. But these guys are not gods. And there's been exaggeration about who they are and what they can do. Now, I haven't heard Jack Smith say, I'm the best prosecutor in the world. And I have heard him say some humble things. But he's now thrust into the maelstrom that we consider our public discourse. And we're going to pay the price for it. Because we have contributed to Trump's argument by appointing a special counsel when we could have just taken, say, the 3 lead prosecutors in our best cases and made them either cooperate together or put one as, a first among equals, and done it that way. Efficient, not obvious, and we don't make a target right away. In fact, we diffuse the attack on the prosecutors by doing that. But we didn't do that. And the only objective appears to be to delay and to make a PR statement that's not true in the sense of independence, because nothing happens, just like with Barr and Mueller, unless the AG, Garland, approves what Jack Smith does. So that's where we are. We're being, again, disappointed because of the failings of our leadership to have any guts. No guts, no glory. I said in one response to one Twitter comment, RFK. And somebody said, why? Well, today's his birthday, but he was also the Attorney General of the United States. And he had a Get Hoffa squad. And yes, maybe that wasn't a president, but that was a really powerful guy he went after. And ultimately he did. But he made no bones about it. He wouldn't stop, either before he became the AG or when he became the AG. he wouldn't stop working himself personally to get Hoffa. How does that compare to this Attorney General? No comparison. This guy, you feel like it's a walk in the park. It's a way to stand on the side and say, I'll go in after the next basket. I say that like I'm playing basketball these days, which I'm not. It's been a long time. So my dad did say about playing basketball when he took us over to the school backyard, that it wasn't enough to do a layup. You had to do it with grace, you know. You had to lean into it. Do something that was nice to watch and that the form and the content worked. Well, by that standard, shifting from b-ball to whatever it is that Garland's doing, no content, no grace. Doesn't even fool us. So the misdirection of a magician in which we don't notice what they do. And I often volunteer to appear in those acts when I get a chance. Not that I want to spoil it, because I want to be deceived. I know I'm being deceived, but I want to be deceived to see if I can catch it, to see how good this person is. And over the years, I've seen some brilliant magicians. Well, in terms of political magic, not Garland. Nor does it seem anybody very close to him has any magic for this business. Knows how to take on the fight. Knows how to trash talk with elegance. Knows how to squeeze until Trump is screaming, this is different than anything I've ever been in. And what better thing to do than to soften up your opponent with a couple of prosecutions in the next month. And I say, if you're at doubt, do the Georgia case. Take that tape and charge him with it. Just give me those votes. Come on, it won't hurt. Give me those votes so that I can pass Biden, who won this election in Georgia. One simple prosecution. Big exposure. But we don't do it. And why? Because they're selling us a bill of goods. They're not doing it very well, but they're selling us a bill of goods. And the bill of goods is that we're trying. We're on it. We're going to do something. Well, if they do, I'll be surprised. And if they do, I'll be watching carefully. If somebody takes a fall like they claim Liston did to Muhammad Ali. So there it is for the day. It is crisp and beautiful out. Today, instead of pumpkins, we fed the pigs some hay for them both to eat and for bedding. And so now I'm out in this crisp, wintry air, and it's invigorating. And I can't imagine I'll be on a ski slope this year, or next year, but it would be fun. So, from my cathedral of trees until tomorrow, all the best. Bye-bye.